Right, we're talking about end-to-end experimentation today, and I can understand you might not know what that is, but I will get to that. First of all, I'm fully aware you probably know what Sky is, but what I really want to highlight is how big it is. So Sky's in around 7 countries, and I don't think many people know that. It reaches over 120 million people across Europe, but there are so many people that work there. There's over 31,000 people that work at Sky. I don't know if anyone's been to the campus at Osterley, but wow, that's huge. That is one big place. But Sky is not just Sky itself. It's also got multiple brands. So there's Sky Sports, Sky News, Sky Go. We even make our own films. There's Now TV, so we've created a proposition that we basically fight against, but you know, their choice. But I'm going to talk about the digital landscape here. Sky is lots of different departments, and they all have separate digital teams. We've got Sky Go, we've got Sky News, we've got Now TV, Sky Sports, Sky Germany, and Sky.com itself is also split in 2. Half of the website is owned by what we call consumer, which is people trying to increase orders, and the other half is for services, which is trying to help people self-serve online and stop them calling the contact center. Makes perfect sense. Let's split the website in 2. I work in the Sky Services bit. We look after more than just Sky.com. We look after the app, IVR, telephone system, community forum, social media, chatbot, messaging, you name it, we've got it. And I manage the experimentation team in that area specifically. I'm going to talk a little bit about that team now. So, Sky Services Experimentation Program team. How are we doing? Culturally, we are embedded across teams and leadership. I no longer have that conversation, why should I A/B test this? Which I'll be honest, I used to have every day once upon a time, and it's an absolute dream. No, I do not have that conversation anymore. It's absolutely great. Reason why is because our workflow is really good. So testing is actually embedded in how we build. It's part of the product roadmap. We do not have a separate experimentation backlog. We use the product backlog, and what we do is we roll out to 50%, we stop there, and we measure our A/B test. It's really successful. And due to that approach, most of our tests are server-side. We are not doing small button-colored tests. We are bringing out new journeys. We're testing Gen AI, seeing as that's been a big word today, via A/B testing. Everything goes via an A/B test. And that means all our decisions are really driven by data and insight. If it's not worked, we do dig into that. We check what's not worked, why we've not got the problem statement correct. We go back, we test again until we get that right. After that, everything is validated, not by myself, but by our finance team. So all A/B testing data is sent to our finance team. They go, yep, I can see that's reduced calls into the contact center. Let's go shout about that around the business. And that means we've got that transparency. So for every £1 that we spend on development in my area, I can tell you the return of investment of everything because we A/B test it all. And that's really great. And that number goes right up to the CEO, who, let's be honest, I am never going to be in a room with. An impact of that, we've got a 50% win rate. I think that's pretty good. I'd actually say that's pretty high. I'd probably want to get us a bit more challenging. But we do have a really good win rate. So, what can I say? That was me bragging. We've done really well. We're really good. We're really, really, really good at what we do. But what's the problem then? The problem is this. Experiences across our journeys feel fragmented. I don't know if any of you are Sky customers or beyond Sky.com. There are some frustrating journeys in there. Back to this slide. Why? We work in verticals. We work in silos. I just said the website's split in 2. Do you think a customer cares that the website's split in 2? One team's trying to increase orders, the other's trying to reduce calls. Do you think the customer knows the difference? To give you another example, this gets worse. Do you want to know how many A/B testing tools we've got in the business? Any guesses? 4. Yes, we have Optimizely, we have Dynamic Yield, maybe not anymore, Adobe, and Launch Darkly is somewhere in the business. We do everything in complete and utter silos. Now I'm going to show you a video of how this actually impacts the customers. This is a customer trying to remove a TV package. I'm going to pre-warn you, any user researchers in here, there is a leading question in here because my Italian colleague gets pretty frustrated for Maureen in this. So here we go.
Okay, so let's have a look and see. Okay, so this time I'm going to go into my Sky. And then I will go into my products. And then, what would I then go on? So I'm just having a look down. So I want to remove something.
Yeah, any package you have.
Okay. Oh, now maybe that's not where I want to go because these are all things that I don't have. Okay. Right, so I'm going to go back and I'm going to have a look at my TV now. And
so say that maybe rather than removing Sky Cinema, you want to remove Netflix.
Okay. Right, so I've obviously gone down the wrong route there. So I'm still going to my TV because I'm thinking that's where I want to remove it from. And I've got Netflix there that's come up on this screen. But it says it's an add-on, so that's because I've already got that. Right, I'm going to go into my account. And I'm going to... Oh, I'm not doing well on this one, am I?
This is actually probably one of the most difficult tasks.
Right, okay. Right, let me try and figure this out. Go in there. My Sky. TV. Right, I'm going to go back into my Sky here. Bills and pay my products. Let's have a look and see. Oh no, that's where I've just been.
Okay, I'm not even kidding, that goes on for another 2 minutes. And Maureen goes round and round in circles. We're going to take you to the last 30 seconds now, and you can see how she finishes after 5 minutes of trying to navigate our website. You can put that on, Martin, please.
I'm going to have a look in there. Add or remove a TV pack. I'm thinking this is where I need to be. So will I click on that, add or remove a TV pack?
Yeah.
Oh,
And you will, yeah.
that's taking me back to there. Sorry, what were you going to say there?
Yeah, it's taking you back there. So you're surprised it takes you back there.
Yes, because it's not. There's nowhere telling me how to remove that I'm seeing.
Maureen, you gotta love her. But that went on for 5 minutes, and I'm not joking. That is quite a common journey that happens. I'm going to explain to you why. One of the major problems is you can't actually remove a TV package online, but the search suggests you can. I think, and I'm saying this, I think you can remove Netflix, but I don't work in that department. I don't really know. So what you can see, the user goes round and round in circles. And individually, these areas probably do what they want. But I'm just going to highlight underneath there's 3 product teams this actually goes through and 2 different departments. The settings product team is the sales area. Their KPI is to increase orders. Do you think they're really looking at someone that's struggling to remove packages? No. What they'll do is they'll send them to the service area. Maybe they can sort it. And what's happening in the service is you've got 2 product areas here. You've got one that's trying to help them reduce calls into the contact center. So a lot of those calls are tech-based. They're not looking at this either. What they're doing is, oh, I think you can remove a package online. The sales team sends them there. So everyone is just passing it on to someone else to look after, and they're not actually looking at the journey end to end. They're just focusing on their little areas. And Maureen, bless her, did that for 5 minutes. No one else is going to take the time to do that. They just give up and pick the phone up, which is the problem here. Customer journeys are horizontal. Most people assume that we start on the home page and that we go to different areas, but no, how many of the journeys start in Google now, and no one considers that? And they go to different areas. I know it myself. A lot of our customers go to the service estate to look for offers for sales, but we do not work together. We work very independently in our own verticals. But not only are they horizontal, they're messy. Like, we can start a journey on the homepage, but we can end up in the chatbot. We could then go to a help article, back to the chatbot, go in my account, pick up the phone, get deflected, go back to the website, and go round and round like that. They're not linear customer journeys, and we need to stop thinking that they are. And we need to make them consistent in not just one of our channels, but all of our channels. So what's the solution for this? There's 3 things I'm going to talk about here. 1 is end-to-end technology, 2nd is working group, and 3 is analytics. So I'll start with end-to-end technology. Right, I'm going to talk about our original implementation of Optimizely. This was completely the correct way to do it back in the day. We had separate SDKs across our technology stack. So to put that into perspective, we have 60 applications in .com alone. Each of them had separate SDKs. The teams managed their own integration and installed it differently. So that meant we had very inconsistent actual installation of Optimizely across just Sky.com alone. That meant when we had issues where we wanted to jump across different applications, we just couldn't. If I'm working on the bill, we're staying on the bill. And we couldn't track users outside of those applications. So a good example of that is when we installed our chatbot, we started experimenting within the chatbot. But obviously we wanted to know, how did they get to the chatbot? And what happened afterwards? I couldn't tell you. Could not tell you at all. We didn't have the analytics linked together to say what happened before and what happened after. And that's a key part for optimization when we're looking at something like a chatbot. But I also remember back in, 2019, the PM for chatbot, what they did is they ingested a lot of the help content we had online. And they didn't realize that a customer, to reach the chatbot, went through the help section of our website and answered all these questions. They then got to the bot and they asked them the same questions again. And they were amazed by this, had no idea this was happening. And I was like, really? Is this normal? But lots of people think like this. This is how Sky set them up. I am the PM for the chatbot. I am focusing on the chatbot alone. So what did we have to do to Optimizely to actually enable end-to-end experimentation? What we built was a single centrally managed experimentation layer using Optimizely agent. And this allowed us to standardize everything across all platforms, and it made governance and consistent implementation key across all channels. And this also allowed us to install into non-digital channels. When we think of experimentation, we do think of it as a .com or an app thing. It's not. Optimizely agent, for example, is channel agnostic. We've installed Optimizely in the IVR, which is our telephonic systems. We've got it in Sky.com, the app. We've got it in transcoms. We've got it in push notifications. We've got it in messaging. And we've got it into our advisor platforms coming up. So what this has enabled us, we can still do that vertical testing. There is still a place for that. That is still very important. But this now allows us to look at everything end to end. We can have an experiment that starts on the IVR, goes to .com, goes to the chatbot, goes to messaging, and we can track and experiment across that whole entire journey. And we can scale quickly. This really does scale really quickly, the implementation point of view. We've actually installed into areas I didn't think of. Transcoms was never on my original plan. Going into agent systems was never in my original plan. I'll be honest, we didn't design this. Nelson's at the back, he designed it. If you want to ask him, don't ask me anything about how this works, I've got no idea. And that moves on to my second point, ways of working. So, back in the day, PMs were really just worked on one area. So for example, if I'm a PM, I work on billing on Sky.com. They didn't care about what happened before. They didn't care what happened afterwards, and they didn't care what happened on other platforms. Their job was to work on Sky.com on the bill. So there was no ownership of these customer journeys, and this was a real problem because everyone's definition of what a good customer journey was different, and this is where the fragmentation came in. What we moved to was changing the product manager's role. They're now looking at intent-led product thinking. So instead of being the product manager for the bill on Sky.com, they will start looking at things from a customer intent point of view. So if they're focusing on the pay my bill journey, they don't just look at it on Sky.com. They look at it in the app, they look at it in messaging, they look at it in chatbot, they look at it on the call center. They look at it across it all. They make sure it's consistent and it works for every type of customer that we had. That is what truly looking end-to-end looks like. And this really does encourage consistency. I'll be honest, there's more to do on this. This is just one area. We need to scale this out. I gave you that example earlier. That was across multiple departments. We are still separated. We've got work to do there. But the plan is, if we get this to work in my area, start seeing things end to end, we can then start getting a bigger working group together to look at things end to end via each department, which is the plan. The final part is analytics. So anyone that does experimentation knows that analytics is the most important thing. You've got to have a good data layer to actually start doing A/B testing. And one thing we have, which is great, is really good at analytics. So all our data links together. Every experiment I can tie back to what happened into the contact center. So we have digital touch points. I can tell you where a customer landed in the contact center. I can tell you what they did in messaging. I can tell you any operational metrics, such as did they order an engineer, did they order a replace remote, upgrade, downgrade, and medallia feedback. So that's feedback from the individual A/B tests, which we can see the feedback and watch a content square recording on the back of it. This is amazing. This is really good. And I think if you're going to start anything like this, link all your data together. It's really powerful. How we do it is everything goes into GCP. So for every A/B test, I can see what they did and what they did when they called. And it's really, really powerful, this. Now, I'm not going to lie. This is not all singing and dancing. This is 2 years in. There's still a lot to do. A couple of challenges that we've had. First of all, technology. Just like everything else in Sky, technology has been built in verticals. Different maturity of technology along the way has been quite hard. For example, the IVR, I'm not kidding. Wow, that technology, something out of the 80s. It was incredible. But there are also teams in a separate department. So we've got really good teams that understand experimentation and teams that don't. We've had to really bring in people together to go, we need to work together on this. I'm actually really pleased to say we've actually hired dedicated people now to maintain our experimentation system, which is a lot further than when we were a couple of years ago. Second, I am talking about Sky. Anyone had the pleasure of working at Sky? It's everywhere. Politics. Every big company has it. This has been interesting. We're introducing experimentation to new areas. I said at the beginning, no one challenges me on why we should A/B test. I'm leaving my safe space. Oh, yes, they are, and I can't remember what I used to say back in the day. But it's about learning again. We're educating as we're going along. And then it gets into this, who gets the business benefit? As I said, with our A/B testing program, we validate everything. I've been on phone calls where they're going, oh, but I technically built it, but it was their idea, so I think I should get the benefit. I'm like, wait, come on now. And who's accountable for what? So this goes back to kind of the technology point of piece. I was on a call for an hour and a half the other week about who presses the button in Optimizely to turn the experiment on for transcoms. An hour and a half. I left that call after an hour and a half. But it's ways of working, my third point. This is fundamentally going to change ways of working, not just in product, in technology, and in data. If you think about it, when we're building an end-to-end A/B test, who's going to QA that all across the journey? We can't do it in verticals. We need to start looking at it. And this is why we really need to adapt this and really think about this. So process and governance is really key here. And yes, I'm not going to join those calls forward about who presses a button, but someone else can deal with that. That will be great for me. And then finally, we're bringing multiple teams together. I talked about at the beginning the different KPIs. We now need to start aligning better on them. We can't have one area of the business increasing orders but not caring about calls, one trying to reduce calls but not caring about orders. We need to come together. We really need to work together, meaning we need to align our resources and take on our different visions and strategies. At the end of the day, we are one big company. We've all got the same goals. We've just got these micro insecurities within our teams that we really need to talk about. But ultimately, what we're trying to do is empower Sky to create successful, customer-focused, end-to-end journeys. And this is going to take time. As I said, 2 years in, there's more to do. There's quite a lot more to do. But we're moving towards that, and that's really exciting. I think once we've got this established in our area, we want to take this into the glass TV, into the streaming boxes, into the broadband boxes. And what we can do is actually start sharing those data between them all and really focus on that customer journey. So my final point, just to summarize, experimentation needs to start focusing on customer intent, not just the product. We need to come out of just focusing on one product area and really think about the journey end to end. Experimentation doesn't have to be just digital. It can be across your whole entire business. Secondly, technical foundations in place. That will make a huge difference. I remember the days when we were thinking of really big ideas, but we couldn't actually technically do them. Spend your time getting your technical foundations in place and you will fly because it's ready, it's there to go, and you can dream as big as you want. And my third point, I think this is from me and my own personal journey with Sky, is experimentation is not about keeping it to yourself. I think through the years, we very much started as a CRO team of we built the tests, we came up with the ideas, we sent out the test results. As we've matured, I've let go more and more of what we do. I don't control the technology at all anymore. My team haven't built tests in years. And I'm going to get to the point where A/B testing across Optimizely in my service area, I don't expect to own that all. And that is what maturity is with this. Don't keep it to yourself. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Where you are, we've got 20 minutes left for some questions.
Bam.
So I've got them all up here on Slido. You can still add more, so there's a QR code if you didn't grab it earlier. So starting off from Anonymous, how many A/B tests do you run a month or a year at Sky.com?
I think it's about 20 to 30 a month. And where, I can't remember how many did we do last year. I think it was about 300. But that number's going down year on year because we're getting more complex as it goes on. So we have some A/B tests. The year before last, it took 6 months to build because we were building it from scratch. So I am very much a quality over quantity sort of person.
Nice. And then who in your team decides to run those tests? Is it designers? Is it product managers? Is it CX team? Or does it vary?
So because it's the product roadmap is the experimentation backlog. So to put it into context, we support about 20 product teams and all their individual roadmaps. So members of my team are paired with 3 to 4 of these product roadmaps, and they will work with that product manager to work out what's next on the roadmap. So they will get challenges from the business, what they need to A/B test. So anything from top down, they will A/B test that. They will work on optimization separately with them. And then we do have like a strategy and propositions team that come up with ideas, but again, it goes through them. A/B testing is the delivery mechanism here, so it's a bit different in the fact ideas do come from everywhere. If it's on the roadmap, it's A/B tested. That's how it works.
Thank you. Do you have an A/B test where the user behavior insight has surprised you the most?
Ooh, that's a good one. Do you know what? I think the one that surprised me the most is quite a big one we did. We didn't have a home move journey online for years and years and years because they were terrified that it would impact sales, which it didn't. We did release that through an A/B test, but it was quite interesting. The call rate didn't drop as much as you'd expect for releasing that journey. And the reason was because they were calling about if they need to take like their Sky Dish with them. And like other really like odd niche questions that no one had ever thought about. And we really had to build like an FAQs for what to do in a home move because people found it so complicated. So for something I thought would be quite simple, there were so many questions that like, do I need to take my Sky Dish? You don't, by the way. But yeah.
It's prompted more questions. I want to ask a question. I've got a house that we've moved into, and there's old Sky Dishes there. Do we even need Sky Dishes anymore?
Well, no, technically, you can get Sky Stream or Sky Glass. But yeah, if you want Q.
So I can just take them off. I don't need them.
Yeah, take it off.
Sorry, I've derailed this. Right. What was the biggest challenge to get the end-to-end model as a priority?
I just highlighted it's taken 2 years so far. This is not a small job. This is a big job, and it was very much a side-of-desk job. I have been at Sky 6 years. I have begged, borrowed, and stealed every favour I've ever asked to get this done. I think because how we've done it is it's so embedded in product. Product can really see the vision. So our product director makes the roadmap decisions, and he wants this. He wants to get this going. He wants to be the area that shows off, basically, in Sky, if you want to bring it back to politics. So I think the fact I've got really good leadership buy-in has really helped get this off the ground. And I think one of the things I will say for my product director, he has given me complete and utter freedom to build this. And that's been a real pleasure, because I know not all companies will.
Thank you. So what if the analytics contrast the results of the usability testing? Does one supersede the other?
Say that again.
If the analytics contrast the results of the usability testing, which one takes precedence?
Well, the usability testing will have been done on X amount of customers, let's say 6. The analytics will have been done on quite a lot more customers and will have better statistical significance. So analytics there.
How did you change the company culture from channel to journey without changing how our product team's performance is reviewed? How did you change the incentive?
So I think end-to-end's a big thing from top down. I think Sky itself has noticed this is an issue, the fact we're working in verticals and separate departments. So they're really keen to look at this. It's a big buzzword, end-to-end. I think the problem with leadership, they can't really define what it means. So I'm giving them a hand here with defining it for them. We still do have a problem. I think we are still very much targeted on reducing calls. I think we need to move how we look at our metrics. And as I said, I think within time, what we're actually planning on doing next year is moving to a cost to serve model. So instead of just focusing on calls, we can start bringing in that customer experience kind of metric as well and make sure we're getting the right balance. I think if I go back to my early days at Sky, removing a phone number was just fine, which is completely not fine. That is just delaying the problem. So that's what we're trying to do.
Okay, and it's a very similar question, but how are success metrics decided when working across products and teams?
So we all have the same success metrics. Everyone is given a target. So as a team, we've got to reduce X amount of calls by the end of the year. That is split by area. We use the same metric across finance, product, and the planning department, whose job is it to plan how many people we need in the contact centre. So we all use the key metric. So that all comes from top down, which really makes a difference to the experimentation programme.
Thank you. So what else do we have here? Is A/B testing, as A/B testing is embedded in your product roadmap, how do you manage content A/B tests, i.e. page hierarchy with no development required?
So my team work with content that I would class that as a separate squad. So they're done via front-end tests, and I think a lot of my team set them up themselves. So again, we just use content as like a separate squad. They're not doing it on their own. Everything's coming via my team to make sure we do all the A/B test results, so everything is centralized from that point of view.
Do you keep any long-term holdout groups, and are there pros and cons of the approach you've chosen?
Long term, no, but I want to. I think the way we set up Optimizer, we've got a lot of different projects, and for the different areas, so having a holdback group in each of them would get complicated from an analytics point of view. But Optimizer, you sat at the front. You've told me you've got it on your roadmap, so I can do a global holdback group. So yeah. When that's ready, I will be doing that because I want to see the long-term impact of these metrics we're looking at. They're operational metrics. Over time is going to make a difference, and I think that is a gap we have right now. For example, the home move journey, when it released, I measured the call impact, but there'll be an impact over time with that, which we are not considering, and that needs to change. And that, I would say, is probably the biggest problem right now. So yeah, holdback group, please, Ed.
There you go. What steps are you planning to take to bridge the interdepartmental gap?
Right. Relationships are key with this. And I think having that good relationship makes a difference. And I think we're all on the same page of what we're trying to achieve. I think it's about getting the time, the resource to sit together and get that done. I think between us, we've got some really good ideas. But I know from my point of view, the experimentation team in sales, for example, they want to use this. They want to be part of it. They don't want to be left behind. So, and I've got no problem with working together because poor Maureen that we saw will finally work out how to remove a package at some point. We want that to happen for her. And I think more bang for your buck. If we fix that journey, how much orders would we improve and calls would we save? The business benefit would speak for itself if we actually worked together.
Justice for Maureen.
Justice for Maureen.
Sorry, just scrolling through. What is the size and makeup of your team?
It's not big enough. So there is 6 of us all together, and we support about 20 squads. There isn't enough of us. We are petitioning for more resource at the moment. But how it works is, as I said, each member of my team works with 3 to 4 squads to work with them on their analytics and roadmaps.
Cool. As tests are delivered server-side, who leads the build and test setup? Is it product or optimization teams? How do you avoid stepping on each other's toes?
So it is the product team, and they are working on their individual areas. So there's not really much stepping on toes just because of the size of the website. They're all looking after, like, if they're looking after billing, they were looking after billing. If they're looking after broadband checker, speed checker, they're looking after that one area. So product does the building, and what my team does is check for those things. But I'll be totally honest with you, it doesn't happen often. The main place it does happen is the app. But again, it's just about communicating and double checking those things. We've all got access to each other's roadmaps to keep an eye out for these things.
Cool. Which departments struggle to communicate the most when trying to implement end-to-end experimentation?
Right.
Without throwing any shade.
Who struggled the most? I think it was mainly, it's been the going into the contact center. So going into the contact center is like it's starting experimentation from scratch if we were joining Sky.com again. They don't have analytics anywhere. I wouldn't be surprised if their system is running from underneath someone's desk. And their way of working is pretty crazy. So we've had to spend a lot of time, we're going to have to spend a lot of time understanding how the hell they work, how they actually bring things to life. And everything is based on an opinion. One advisor said, oh, I think I need that, therefore they build it. So everything is not data-driven in the slightest, but they're not even set up to take data. So that has been the hardest department, and I'll be honest, we haven't started it in much detail because I'm terrified of how big a job that's going to be.
Fair. Was exec sponsorship required to transform from vertical product-based approach?
Not exec sponsorship. So again, this was just director sponsorship here. So the directors at Sky have complete ownership of their roadmap. They have ownership of what they have to do, but they also have room to do what they want to do. So this has completely been done by product directors and his buy-in on this one. And then I think what the plan is, we report into the Chief Operating Officer, who is not very digital savvy at the best of times. So the plan is to show him how this works afterwards and how good this is going to be. So we're quite excited to do that when we've got it all up and running.
Nice. Okay, so what's the biggest thing or most surprising thing you've ever had to roll back on despite A/B testing?
Roll back on. I would say there has been a few situations where my suggestion, this is back a few years ago, we haven't rolled back. And I think, I remember once we did a big re-platform on something for a signed out journey, and it absolutely tanked. I mean, it increased calls by a large amount and I remember at the time it was just ignored and done. And I think going back to nowadays, only last week that same area had another re-platform, and they reduced calls by over 800 and odd calls. And that to me just shows the growth in how far we've come, in the fact we actually did better data discovery, user research, deep dives into what the customer problem was before we did an A/B test. And it saved so much calls, because when it originally happened, I'm talking back in like 2019, they just ignored it. Complete silence. Those are the days.
Yeah. Okay, theme for the day. Where do you use AI in your workflows and A/B testing, or do you?
We don't right now. And the reason for that is Sky has been very much, because it's such a big company, holding AI to itself. We've got to ask permission to use AI. We've actually got a license with Google of using Copilot, but that's the only thing we do right now. I think what we're doing is we're trying to introduce Gen AI into our chatbot, and we're actually using it in our IVR decision making. So when you ring the contact center, one of the main problems we have is we can't actually identify the customer intent. We're using Gen AI to see how that's performing. So we're still in our infancy with that, I'd say.
Fair. Thank you. Question here from David. How do you ensure that A/B tests don't just chase short-term business metrics at the expense of long-term user trust or satisfaction? What principles guide them?
So, we obviously have short-term metrics. We are focusing on, did the customer call within 24 hours? One of the things we need to get better at looking at is churn rate. We're very big. We've tried it several times to look at creating a customer experience metric, but anyone that's tried to do it knows that's really hard to do. But we want to get better at introducing that. However, what we need to do is work better at creating a metric such as lifetime value, which means A/B tests will need to run longer. And I think this is the point of horizontal. We want to look at those bigger long-term metrics instead of focusing on those shorter ones. So we're not doing it right now, I would say, but I'm fully aware it's a gap, and we're hoping to use this technology to actually look at those bigger long-term metrics, such as lifetime value.
Nice, thank you. And then a question from Callum. With cancellation processes for customers, do you feel like some companies intentionally make it difficult, and do you feel like this can harm the company's brand?
Oh, I definitely think that. There are rules around it, and there's more Ofcom rules coming in. And I think, interestingly, I think we're going to actually start seeing what you can do online with that, because it makes such an effort having to ring up a customer. And I know for me personally, having to do upline, or everything online, you can upgrade, downgrade. I'd rather stay if I have that option. So yeah, I do think that will change. And I'm hoping Sky will start looking into that soon.
Nice. And then, do you think implementing end-to-end requires a dedicated person or team, or does it fall in a particular role or department, potentially for smaller companies too?
I think your optimization team is going to drive it. So from my point of view, because we're in a big company, the experimentation team are going to drive this to start with. We're going to have to work with the product managers, sit with them and go, right, I'll be totally honest with you. When we build this, I kind of need it to win because it's going to be expensive to build. So what we will do is work with the product managers to make sure we have enough data sets. So have we got quant? Have we got qual? And we will put the ideas together with them and then work with them on their roadmap. We will 100% lead this to start with. And then when it's embedded, that's the point when we step back. But I don't think if I just went, here's end-to-end technology, product, off you go, I don't think anything would happen. I don't think anyone would use it. So we do need to drive that. And I think that is our team's responsibility to start that.
Thank you. Got time for one final question. Now, unfortunately, this one is from Anonymous, so depending on your answer, you can't actually let them know. But can I get a cheeky discount on my Sky package for attending today?
Yeah, I do have a discount code somewhere.
There you go.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Anonymous or Mrs. Anonymous, if you'd like to come to the front afterwards, I'm sure you can get it. Please give a massive round of applause for Natasha.
Thank you very much.
Thank